Thought I was dead, didn't ya? After finishing up Shadow of the Erdtree, I once again felt the pull of Monster Hunter and decided to jump back into the new world. Shocking, I know. Known Rise Shill plays World. Stop the presses. But as stated in my previous video, I don't hate World. There are just parts of Rise I like better. And after playing through the base game again and making my way through Iceborne, I had a sudden realization. An enlightenment, if you will. The World vs. Rise debate doesn't even make any sense at a fundamental level. Obviously people will have preferences, and that is very cool and good, but Rise and World aren't even comparable games. Now the astute viewers among you may be wondering how this can possibly be, as they are two games within the same series. How much more comparable can you get? And you do have a point. They're both third-person action games where you hunt monsters and they have the same core game loop. But when I say they're incomparable, I'm talking about it in the context of the ever-annoying World vs. Rise debate, where people on the internet argue past each other to determine which game is definitively better. And the futility of this debate becomes very apparent in a subsection of the comments on my last Monster Hunter video, as they fail to comprehend that I do in fact like Monster Hunter World. It is a good game. I'd even go as far as to say that it's one of my favorites. I wouldn't have almost 300 hours poured into it if it wasn't. And I know most of these people just wanted to go lol dumb Rise shill, but I just want to be perfectly clear. World, good. World, very good. Rise, also good. And the galaxy-brained and nuanced idea I want you to take away from this video is that both games are cool and based, and saying one of them is better than the other is pretty dumb and cringe if I do say so, because it's not even a valid comparison. And it mainly comes down to the design philosophy of each game and the series' history as a whole. Monster Hunter has a history of entries being targeted for portable platforms like the PSP and 3DS, usually being side entries or ports, but for a lot of people, Monster Hunter was experienced predominantly as a portable series. World was a big departure from this because not only was it a new mainline entry, it was almost like a soft reboot of sorts to appeal more to the Western audiences, as Monster Hunter was pretty niche outside of Japan. A new world, if you will. Rise, on the other hand, was a return to the portable generation, as it was a Switch exclusive at launch before eventually coming to the rest of the platforms. So right from the jump, each game has a completely different design goals just based on the target audiences. One being the boundary pushing title for the next generation of gaming, and the other being an exclusive for a console that was already underpowered in comparison to its competition 5 years after the fact. And there's not anything wrong with either side, it's just the situation that defined the design constraints for each title. And from these design constraints, we have two completely different titles. One focused on immersing you in a world with its own ecosystem to explore, interactions to discover, and characters to deal with.
I'm happy. This old girl is getting a second chance at life.
The other being almost entirely focused on expanding the moment-to-moment gameplay. More mobility with the Palamute, more build options with switch skills, and more combat abilities with the Wirebug. But what everyone focuses on with Rise is what it's missing from World. Not only did the hardware necessitate more restrained graphics and overall scope, but the portability of the Switch means you're not really going to immerse yourself on a 7-inch screen. The point isn't to be immersed, it's the ability to quickly pick it up when you want to and do a quick hunt or two without needing to deal with all the extra fluff. And while I still stand by most of the criticisms and arguments I made in my last video, replaying World really highlighted why all the extra fluff matters. It's hard to truly quantify immersion, but the interactive maps, the interactions between the monsters, and how just damn beautiful this game is all come together to make something special. And the immersion is more than just a vibe. It makes each victory that much more satisfying and helps get you attached to your character and gear. You're the guy that went out and skinned that dinosaur to make your new pair of pants or sick new sword. Back when I made that first video, I was loving Rise because the combat additions made it much more enjoyable, and I had the experience from World under my belt to really dig into the build craft right from the very start. But right now, World is just hitting in a way that just feels right. I don't mind the slower pace. I'm able to really savor the more methodical and harder hitting combat while still being able to scratch that itch for build craft. But who knows, In the future, I'll probably get sick of all the extra fluff, like characters not shutting up every 5 seconds. Please, for the love of God, stop telling me how to capture a monster. I am in the endgame DLC. What do you mean? And then I'll go back to Rise. They're different games with different design goals for different types of players. So enjoy what you want and let others enjoy what they want, while we all wait impatiently for Wilds to come out and we can repeat this argument ad nauseum. Consider giving a like if I said something interesting. Subscribe if you want to hear me ramble about video games more. I've been Flamin' Knight, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.